If I was to be brutally honest about the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human, I think is the name. It takes me about 4 weeks to properly get these names right. Forgive me. But if I'm being brutally honest, this show isn't anything special. It's not. At least as of 2 episodes in. With that said, did I have fun watching a second episode? Yes. And I almost feel like with the way the internet is anymore, and I kind of get it, if you're limited on time, you should only watch the best of the best. Because, I mean, sometimes adding in a little bit of junk food's good, but if you're limited on time and can't watch a dozen or 20 shows a season, sure. But here's the thing, I do have the luxury of watching not just the best of the best. And in doing so, sometimes I'll add in a couple of shows that are just, they click with me in a way that are just simply fun. And if you look at a show from last season, The Newgate, had that show had a good production value, a good production budget, just everything about that show, if it was visually, at least at this level, that show would have been much more enjoyable by the end. But unfortunately, you're better off reading the source material for that because it just was an ass production. This is a show that I saw some criticism last week, the 3D's god-awful, this or that. Here's the thing, I actually like the 3D. I think they did a smart thing both with the nighttime scene, using 3D mobs in dim scenes, and also the sunrise or sunset setting. It helps blend it in a lot better, and the character models are actually pretty good. But when you really break down this episode, what really was it? You have a lot of cliches, a lot of gimmicks, and at the end of the day, if you've seen a few isekai, you kind of feel like where all the vibes are going. There's a couple of small elements that kind of have piqued my interest, and we'll get into that in a bit. But at the end of the day, if I was to not watch this show, am I missing out on anything? As of right now, I would say no. But here's the thing, I have no problem being honest that this show's just perfectly okay. I don't need every show to be these masterpieces, especially when this show's clearly just kind of having fun with, once again, another character who is on the other side, but clearly wants to bridge the gap between humans and demons. The one thing about this show is that they are legitimately letting more characters realize he's not human than I was initially expecting. You always kind of expect, like, the Demon Lord already kind of knows, so, how long until she reveals her trump card. But at the end of the day, though, this is a show that I doubt it's going to do anything truly remarkable. I'm welcome to be proven wrong. But it almost feels like the internet's like, they're scared to admit they just like a fun show because it's simply fun. There's elements I definitely enjoy and want to break down this episode, but yeah, if I'm being honest, is this isekai anything special? Not right now. Do I expect it to be? Not really. But am I gonna keep watching because it's simple junk food fun? Absolutely. Now, of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full and good thought to any of these episodes, it's going to be over there exclusively. Even though I talked about it last week, people were still like, is it an isekai? I don't know. And it's like, bro, if you watch like 2 minutes of my video, I literally explained it is. Yes, it is literally listed as isekai reincarnation on my anime list. We don't know exactly how it relates. All we know is probably it's clearly built around him being a baby, most likely being reborn, and probably tied into whole, like, long-lost civilization stuff. That's probably what it's all linked about. However, this episode, it kind of, in a weird way, I almost wonder, and I think anyone who's seen enough of these types of shows can probably agree with me. Does anyone else feel like a lot of the reasons we really enjoy, if you are in the camp of enjoying this, because we've seen so many of these shows with, like, Demon Lord armies and stuff, that it almost feels like we're pulling from all these different experiences and, like, kind of filling in blanks of, like, where most likely things have gone. That's kind of how I'm feeling. But I do appreciate the fact that we're not just starting off with him first joining up with the Demon Lord. Like, he's already been here for a hot minute. And the idea that he's already made connections, at first I thought this was the Demon Lord, but no, Lilith. You have Lilith and Saudi in this episode who are just thirsting over him left and right. And overall, like, the episode was basically, okay, here's the thing. He's now put into a position that, based on last week's dialogue, is going to be one of the most crucial points for the Demon Lord's army. So here's this knight, Alistair, who gets appointed to go mess around and hopefully not find out, and launches an attack that immediately gets pushed away. Assassin in the distance snipes him in his shoulder, which is surprising, to be honest. This is one thing, like, one of these small moments I'll give the show props for. Nothing that's going to turn the show groundbreaking, but every time you have, like, a powerful guy, as the title says, the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army, he's going to stop it with magic, he's going to catch it midair. No, he actually just got sniped, which was interesting. I wasn't expecting that. And I kind of like the idea that when he does confront her by the end of the episode, she immediately calls it out. I saw some people saying, like, why doesn't he hide his identity more? And honestly, like, if you think about it, yeah, if you were to look up close to his face, you can tell that he has skin, right? Like, it looks like normal human skin, but maybe that's not enough to give away that he's human. The mask clearly has some sort of, like, magical enchantment that, like, you can't just simply pull it off, because when he put it on this episode, you could tell, like, something attached and stuff. But when you look up close to his eyes, it does feel like he's human. And I kind of like the idea that whether it was the Demon Lord in last week's episode, she closely examined his face, and it gave me, and many others based on the stuff I was seeing last week, the impression that she most likely knew, which really, you didn't need that scene. Most of the time, these shows do go that route. I'm actually kind of hoping she doesn't realize just yet, just so it's slightly different. But either way, you have Alistair in this episode, I think that's her name, in terms of being like, wait, are you a human? He's like, Nani? What are you talking about? It's silly, it's goofy, but I kind of like it because at the end of the day, like, this is a show that maybe we don't talk about it every single week on the channel. Maybe we only do a few videos of these, but it's one that I do want to watch because it just seems like it's something to kick back and vibe to in a world that legitimately interests me, and the production value doesn't infuriate me. The New Gate is a show that infuriated me visually because it got worse and worse and worse to the point that they had third graders drawing the final episode. Where with this show, is there 3D? Of course there's 3D, but it doesn't look bad. The movement's good, and while there's certain character models that sometimes look a bit more noticeable, the actual general fights that I saw in 3D both in last week or this week, I don't know, like, it doesn't look bad to me. I saw some people say it was god-awful 3D, and I'm like, you have not seen god-awful 3D until you've watched some of the other anime that have come out in the past few years, because this is definitely not god-awful. Mediocre, I'd still argue that, but I'd be more acceptable with that term, but god-awful, hell to the nah. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna watch a majority of the anime a season if it's just like okay or fine to me, but there usually is a show or two that I'm like, you know, am I stretching my brain for this one? Is it anything revolutionary out of the box? Not really. But am I having fun with it? Yeah. And as long as I have time for it. Like, these are the types of show that if it aired on a busier day where there's like 5 other shows that I want to watch, I'd probably skip out on it. But because it airs in a decent enough time slot for me, I want to keep seeing where it's going to go. And if at some point it gets to the point where I feel like it is too much of the same that I've seen, I'll drop it and move on with my life. There's no problem with watching shows and just kind of seeing where it goes. If it doesn't, like, I'm not going to waste my time on something if I don't enjoy it. And currently I am enjoying it. I just don't think it's anything special. But I kind of walk in with that expectations, knowing what to expect for a show like this. I don't know. I don't expect the show to be like that insanely popular, but at the same time, it does have enough themes and vibes that these types of shows can just be massively successful whether they deserve it or not. For me, I'm definitely going to be here for episode 3, but the question remains, how about you? You going to keep on watching this one, or is this one not fun enough for you to keep on consuming it? Let me know down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Just a Micro, Eric Arya, Ralia69, Lorena Frazier, Klaus Mueller, Ashley Hazley, and we also have Daniel. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.